some West Ham news and gossip today. Not a lot of news, mostly gossip. It has to be said. One bit that probably is news that we'll discuss is Alex Kral, predictably, has been told, "Oi, you can go." We've got a bit of Keane Lewis-Smith, who is a winger for Hull City. Good player. We've got a suggestion that Declan Rice would prefer Chelsea over Man United. Tell us something we don't know, but well, I think that there could be a loan deal on the horizon, as well as a couple of other stories. Before I do, I just want to point in the direction of today's video sponsor, and of course, it's Manscaped. Now, Manscaped do lots of good things, and we're going to get you 20% off of any of your Manscaped products. But, as well, do you know what? I just picked that up and it just started going off. It's no good me telling you about it. I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you how effective this gear is. Don't worry, look, this is meant for your pubes. I'm not going to show you the nether reasons. What I am going to do is give this face a trim to show you quite how good this is. What a metamorphosis, I'm sure you will agree. So right, I'm not going to show you down below. Basically, I did it like the crossed hammers. I thought that would be the way to go. Look, Manscaped do so much more than the lawnmower, which is what that is, or the weed whacker, which is for your router. They also do all sorts of moisturisers, wonderful smelling things. They do a cologne. Oh, it's very... I'll do it now. We might as well do the full lot. Where's the thing? Absolutely lovely. Best of all, you get 20% off. Go and check out the Manscaped link below, or just Google Manscaped. Then at the end, when you get to checkout, there's a discount code box. Put in Hammers Chat. Hammers Chat, all one word. You get 20% off. There you go. Right now, the freshly groomed Gonzo will now talk you through what has been going on in the wonderful world of West Ham. Well, there's a lot of rumours. Now, I think probably, as I mentioned at the start, no, it's not sad, but I said predictable, didn't I? Which was that Alex Kral has been told he is free to leave. This will come as a surprise to nobody, least of all Alex Kral. Let me just read. So West Ham reportedly ready to let Alex Kral return to his parent club Spartak Moscow at the end of the season. How will that work in terms of what's been going on with the Russian clubs and whatnot? I would imagine, I don't know, I can't speak for him anyway, but I can imagine if you were a player and you were contracted to a Russian club, probably the last place you'd want to go back to at the moment, given everything that's going on. So one thing saying he's allowed to go back to Spartak Moscow. Would he want to? As I understand it, there's a provision this season that allows for players to play for other clubs. I don't know. Not particularly good. I feel sorry for him. It hasn't really worked out for him. I don't feel we've given him a fair crack at the whip. But then again, I've never felt that David Moyes really fancied him. In which case, why did we bring him in? I don't know. That's a little bit of an odd one. As I mentioned the other day, it's hard to argue. I think that Coventry wouldn't have got more game time had he have remained there. The deal, the option is for 17 million, for a sign of 17 million. I thought it was 12. This article says it's 17. Whatever, 12 or 17. It just ain't gonna happen, let's be perfectly honest. Let's just go to this one, which is West Ham set to rival Tottenham for English winger. What will he add to Moyes' side? This is from this comes from the Daily Mail. It's Lewis Potter. Keane Lewis Potter obviously plays for Hull City. It says he's been a breath of fresh air in the Championship this season. He's caught the eye by producing some impressive displays for Hull in the final third. Good. We don't want him to be a good goalkeeper, do we? He's featured in 41 matches for the English side during his campaign, scoring 9 goals and providing 4 assists. I don't know how good he is. It doesn't sound compelling. Has to be said. I mean, 9 goals is good enough in 41 matches. 4 assists doesn't sound like he is a provider extraordinaire. It says the Holborn talent has done well to average 0.8 interceptions, 1.1 clearances, 2.2. I mean, come on. Who cares? Ridiculous. Anyway, 47. I can't even bother to... anyway, apparently he's a good player. Tottenham interested in him? I just can't see it. I really can't. Obviously, he comes from the same club that Bowen came from, and he didn't do too badly, did he? Let's be perfectly honest with you. Did you see this? Liverpool want Sebastian Haller. Can't see it. I mean, oh my word, can you imagine? Just be dying of embarrassment, I think, if you were David Moyes. And imagine David Moyes lets him go, which he did do. He goes on, scores loads of Champions League goals, which he's done. Scores loads of goals for Ajax. Wins trophies over there, then goes to Liverpool, and then he's like Liverpool's top scorer or something, and wins trophies over there. You'd think someone would say, "Oh, excuse me, Moyes, excuse me, that decision you made, not so great, mate." The other thing is, Masuaku, we're looking to sell Masuaku. I think I mentioned it a couple of days ago. Who's going to buy him? No, I just can't see it at all. Apparently, the interesting thing about the Masuaku contract is we often hear that we have an option to extend a player's contract by 2 years. Apparently, Masuaku has an option as well on this one. So normally it's just the club that has the option. This one, the player's got the option. Well, of course, he's going to do it, isn't he? Because which is wages. And as Gio pointed out in a recent video, it's not like he's unhappy. He doesn't complain when he doesn't play. He very much feels part of the squad and whatnot. 50 grand a week, 2 more years of that. I mean, you'd press the button and say yes, please, wouldn't you? Maybe he's got some other footballing ambitions. Maybe he hasn't. He seems relatively content. Here's the big story. I know Gio touched on it yesterday in his video, which was Declan Rice prefers Chelsea over Man United. Now, this is off the back of a £150 million price tag being put on Declan Rice. I don't think it has officially been put on Declan Rice, but there you go, that's the story. Declan Rice's preference is a move to Chelsea over Man United despite the current uncertainty at Stamford Bridge. I mean, that's actually an interesting line. Despite the uncertainty, he would still prefer Chelsea over Manchester United. He might not have the choice, though. So West Ham are expecting significant interest in the midfielder. Now, the club have actually come out, not publicly, but privately, and said we've had no bids for Rice up to this point. And I do believe that, but I'm not... Just because there have been no bids doesn't mean there's been no interest. So I would imagine that there's been, let's say, tentative inquiries about Rice. That doesn't mean necessarily manifests itself in a bid, does it? It says some of the Premier League's leading side considering an approach for Rice, who's turned down a chance for a new contract at London Stadium. Hammers are reluctant to lose the England international and have set an asking price of £150 million for the 23-year-old. A figure which would eclipse, the £100 million play for Jack Grealish. And this is from the London Standard. It says reporting that both Man U and Chelsea are keen. I just don't understand this. I understand the article. I don't understand how Chelsea can be keen. Who at Chelsea's keen? The manager? I could understand that. There's no one there to sanction any purchase. And even if that was to be done, and they really did want him, who's to say that the new buyer's going to come in and say, oh, by the way, there's £2.5 billion for the club, and we don't mind bankrolling a load of extra stuff. From what I can see, I know there's some local bidders and there's some consortiums, but you're also seeing hedge funds looking to invest in Chelsea. Hedge fund investment, that means they want something back. That's the whole bloody point, really. I'm not saying nobody will buy Chelsea who would be prepared to bid for Rice, but I just find it unlikely. There's a lot of hurdles now. There's a lot of hurdles, a lot of circumstances that would have to happen for that to be the case. I suspect that whoever comes in is probably going to want to keep Chelsea in and around the top, but they're not going to want to subsidise it and keep pumping in whatever Roman was pumping in, £150 million a year or whatever it might have been. I don't know what it was. Which does lead you on to the potential of a swap deal. Now, it may well be that before there was no interest, that actually Roman Abramovich didn't need to offer Gallagher or Broja or whatever his name is. You know the one, the good one, the striker. Plays for Southampton at the moment. There was no need. There was no necessity to sell him. They could buy Rice and not have to sell those. Basically, what they could do is let their investments in those two players flourish and grow and let them maybe go out on loan for another season, and maybe Gallagher might be worth 30 million this season, maybe next season worth 40, 45, 50, whatever. The same for both players, but now it may well be that any new owner might say, well, Mr. Tuchel, if what you want is Declan Rice, then we'll try and make it happen, but it's coming out your transfer budget, or we can offer some swap players. I wouldn't be surprised. I do think we've got massive interest in the striker. Do not be surprised if the only way Chelsea can get Rice, because I don't think they'll have 150 million quid to spend on top of everything else, the only way they can get him is some swap deals. I know we've mentioned it before on this channel, but it's I find it very, very interesting. I hope we keep him. I desperately hope we keep Declan. Qualifying for Europe this season is massively important. Obviously, that was a dent with what we saw against Tottenham the other day. Barcelona are starting to play a lot better than they were. Not that it matters. I mean, we've got to get through Olympic Lyonnais first. I suspect it may be slightly more difficult than Sevilla were. Got nothing to back that up. I just suspect it might not be as easy as we all hope it might. The planets really have to align for us to qualify for Europe next season. I think if we don't, then it's difficult for Declan. I think if we qualify for Europe next season, given what's happening at Chelsea, wouldn't be surprised if we get another season out of him. I don't think he's keen. Don't think he's keen to move up to Manchester. And again, just as we don't know what's going on with the ownership of Chelsea, it's hard for Declan to commit to Man United when they don't even know who their manager is yet. All up in the air. I do. If it goes to Chelsea, I definitely smell. I was going to say I smell a swap deal coming. Mostly, what I can smell at the moment is the Manscaped cologne. Eau de toilette. We call it aftershave. I'll catch up with you tomorrow.